Welcome to Preact's 30 minutes demo on Dynamics 365 for field service. I'm Martin Prosser and I'm joined by my colleague Paul Patterson, who's one of our in-house field service specialists. What is Dynamics 365 for field service? Well, it allows you to dispatch the right resource to the right place at the right time. Field service will help you deliver exceptional on-site experiences to your clients while optimizing resources and costs by dispatching the technicians when and where they're needed most. This in turn ensures a first-time fix, which will help you build trust with your clients. For today's purpose, I'm going to be the role of a field service engineer. I'm going to show you how that would work on a mobile app, and Paul's going to be the dispatcher. That will be very typically office-based, so how this work order gets to the engineer's phone, and then how we can feed the information back in real time back to the people that might be sat in the office, for example. Dynamics Field Service is licensed as a separate app, but if you've already got Dynamics 365 for sales or for customer service, Field Service can be licensed as an attached application at a small cost. Just going to hand you over to Paul now, who's going to take you through the demo.
Thanks for that, Martin. Yeah, so the scenario today, we're going to show you a sale of an electric charge point to be installed at one of our customers' car parks. We're not going to really run through the sales elements. I would probably advise that you look at one of our previous videos, which will run through that. But for today's purpose, we're going to start where we sell an installation. We're going to show how we convert that to a work order. A work order is classed as something where we need to send an engineer out to visit site, to actually conduct the works. We're then going to show how that work is scheduled to an appropriate engineer. And then finally, what the engineer will see through his mobile device using the recently released Microsoft version of the Field Service Mobile. So here we are, we're on a customer here on an opportunity, and we are selling them a 7 kilowatt commercial charge point. And we're at the point where the customer has agreed to the piece of work. So we're now going to convert this to a work order. So when you install field service, you get a few additional options throughout the system. The first being on the product itself. And we're going to specify that this product, when we sell it and install it, becomes an asset on the customer site. The asset being something that we will probably provide ongoing maintenance for, and also provide any break fix support. So at this stage, we are ready to convert to work order, and this button is one of the other features that becomes available when field service is installed. As you can see, I've already done this one before, so a work order exists, but for the purpose of this demo, we're going to create another one. And it just takes a few seconds there, and in a moment we should get another pop-up which will tell us that the work order has been created. And if I click OK on that, it will take us directly to that newly created work order. So here we are. We can see now we're on the work order, and I'll run through this form, and then I'm going to talk about an incident type. So an incident type is effectively a template. So this is the sort of job that we will do time and time again. The engineer will have to carry out similar steps. So I'll discuss that approach and show you how to apply that. So a lot of information is already pulled through for us from the opportunity. So we know who the customer is and who the billing account is. Now they could be different. So we may be selling to selling to a remote site, but billing head office. In this example, it's just the same company. The default system status for the work order is unscheduled, and we are awaiting to assign an engineer. Now these substatuses are configurable. The system statuses are very much set by the rules of the field service application. So by default, any work order created from an opportunity is open and scheduled, and they are the other sort of stages, if you like, that the work order will go through. And we'll see that change throughout this demo. So the work order type has been set to installation. That was pulled through from the opportunity. Price list has been pulled through from the service account. Now here we can see that this primary incident type, now this is the template that I was discussing, is blank, and I'll come on to that in a second. And then we've got the sort of financial aspects there based on the products that we've added to date. We've then got a number of different tabs where we can specify the date and time range that customers have want this installation to take place. So we'll just pop that in for next week. And again here, this is just setting a date range. We can specify a particular time on that date. And then we can also promise dates, so that if we say the customer will be there on Monday morning, we specify this information. And then when it comes to the scheduler, they are sort of guided through ensuring that we match those customers' needs. We will see any products. Now, this is fortunate that that's come through from the opportunity. That is effectively what we're selling. At the moment, that's estimated, and you'll see later how the engineer can specify that he's used and installed that piece of kit. Services, so this is our labour cost. At the moment, that's blank, and I will show you how that gets populated through incident types. We have service tasks. Now, these are the steps that the engineer will carry out. Again, that's blank, but will be populated soon. We have the address, which is obviously important for scheduling. We need to know where the engineer is going. Then location, which is a map view with the long and lat, again, potentially important for the scheduler. So I'm going to go back to the summary. I'm going to come down to the primary incident types section, and handily I have another tab open, which is our incident type. So this is our templated job. This is something that we're going to carry out time and again. So we give it a name. So this is our charge point installation. We specify the work order type is installation. So our work orders can be categorized there into install, maintenance, repair, that sort of thing. Products are the products that we need on this job. This has been left intentionally blank because obviously we're selling that charge point. So that's going to be already on the work order. Services, we've added our labour, and that's coming in at 7 hours. And service tasks, so these are the things that the engineer will see on his mobile device as part of the job. So he has his pre-inspection photos, a risk assessment, where we're also going to be demonstrating the new inspection capabilities of field service, and a few other steps there that he needs to carry out. We can also specify the characteristics needed. So effectively, we need somebody who is able to perform this piece of work. That's the whole idea of field service, is getting the right person to the right job with the right skills at the right time. So we're going to come back to that work order, and then we're going to specify that incident type. And I'm going to click Save. And we can see there it's already pulled through some information. It's pulled through the estimated duration, which again is required for us scheduling. We need to know how long the engineer needs to be there. And then in the background, we should see information being pulled through here onto the work order. So if you remember when we looked a second ago, this was blank. It now has our labour there. And same for service tasks. That's all in. So these incident types can be really powerful, and we can potentially automate those being pre-applied, if you like, to different work order types in order that you don't have to come and manually select that record. So now if this is all looking good, we're at a point where we can book the work order or schedule it, if you will. And there's more than one way to skin a cat, shall we say. So the first method we're going to look at is the quick book. So by clicking this button here, we will get a handy little pop out over to the right. And then based on the characteristics, the resource location and where the customer is located, we will then see some potential installation slots. So we specified, didn't we, that the 30th, so next week was when we were looking to install this, so that the calendar is already pre-picked that day for us. And then we've got these different time slots where different people could attend and complete the work. So we've got a couple of options on the screen. We can click this line, and if we click book, that will take one of these 3 resources who are available to do the job and pick what the system believes is the best one. As a dispatcher, you may want a bit more control over that, and you have the option here to click in and choose who you think is the best person to do that. So these all have the characteristic or the skill that they are able to complete the work. It's now just we might want to find the person who is closer, for example. So that's the first way. We're not going to do it that way because I need to show you a couple of other methods. So we're going to go onto the schedule board. Now there's quite a lot of information to take in here, and I'll try and run through that as quickly as possible. So the center part of the panel is our engineers, effectively. These are all of our resources. The middle are the days of the next couple of weeks, split down by hours between 9 and 5. So fortunately or unfortunately, nobody is booked in at all today, as we can see, because that's what these tiles indicate. These tiles show us when our engineers are booked, and based on their bookings, we can then see their resource utilization. These tiles are customizable, and they also will change color throughout the lifespan of the work order itself. So when we were changing those system statuses to scheduled, to in progress, to potentially on a break or complete, there's different colors behind that. And providing the engineer is using the mobile app and has a Wi-Fi connection or using 4G, for example, those updates will come back real time so the dispatchers can see what is actually happening live in the field. So this is the work order here that we've just created. We didn't quick book it, so I'm going to now show you the assisted method of booking. So if I click on that job and click find availability, what that will do is sort of pre-populate the filters down here at the left-hand side. So it's looking for someone who's available to go on site within a 300-mile radius. It's pre-canned those search dates that we specified from the work order and the characteristic of the ability to conduct the job effectively. And then we can see here from next week, these are the 4 engineers who could do the job and the associated travel time that they have. Now we can remove these filters, we can change them around, we can take this out. And then if we search again, it's the same set of people. But effectively, if we had more engineers in the system that didn't have that skill, they would now appear. Now what I'm going to do is show you again how you could book that. So you would just hover over that section there and click book. And that would then be that engineer assigned to that job for next Monday, starting at 9 o'clock after his 33 minutes of traveling. But again, I'm not going to show you that method of booking. What I'm going to do is show you the new schedule board. So this has been recently designed and released by Microsoft, and this is sort of a far more performant version of the schedule board. So Microsoft have done a lot of research into this, and they believe that the most used method of booking is actually drag and drop. So this is being optimized for that approach. And the drag and drop is very simple. You literally take the job from here, holding the mouse in, and then drag that onto the suitable engineer at the suitable time, and then that is the booking created. If we'd specify some of those times promised from and times promised to, if we were trying to move outside of that area, you would see a red cross identifying that we're trying to schedule this outside of those customers' requirements effectively. So we're going to assign this to Mark for 9:30 on next Monday. And there we go. That is the job scheduled. So I'm now going to hand over to Martin, and he will run through the mobile app so you can have a closer look at how the world plays out in the engineer's eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So I'm just going to run you through what Mark, the engineer here that's just been scheduled with this work order, what he would see when he's on a mobile application. You can see a couple of things from here. Look, we've got the work order number, the location, the status is still scheduled at this point, the start time and the end time. When Mark receives this on his mobile phone, we've got a field service mobile app. Now this app can be configured out of the box. It comes with all of these entities in the sitemap. This can be configured like any other Dynamics 365 app now. So we can tailor make this to your own needs if need be. A couple of things to note. Obviously we've got this offline capability button at the bottom left hand corner, and on the settings as well, the end user can specify their own sort of preferences really, time zones, calendars, how many records they see per page. Do you want to have access to your photo library because you've got a photo and image stored on your camera? Yes or no? Location settings. We set that to yes. It will obviously then say, that it's going to start tracking your location on the phone as well. Photo resolution. Do you want to allow video recording, and do you want your engineers to talk into the phone using a microphone? There's a couple of things on here that each person can set themselves. And then what we've got obviously in here, you can see bookings, which is what we're going to come on to. Work orders. If I click in work orders, that will show me a list of all my work orders. You can see the most recent one at the top there. Accounts, contacts. Accounts are quite useful. Might be that you've got an engineer that's servicing a load of accounts in the area and they can only see the accounts that's servicing. They can then drop in ad hoc on the fly to do some maintenance visits if they need to. We've got assets, which are going to be, in this scenario, it's going to be our charge point. Functional locations. This will be where we're installing those assets to. The engineer also has time off requests, as you can see at the bottom here, like that. They can quite easily then just go and click new at the bottom, and then they can start logging a time off request. Really useful if they need to log a holiday or some time off for anything. If they do and then it gets approved in the system, then as you saw before what Paul was doing where he was scheduling people in, the available resources were coming up with their skill sets. If somebody's had time off approved, they just don't appear. So moving on to this booking that's been set up by Paul. He's the person working in the office. I'm the engineer out and about in the field. I would typically work from my bookings area like so. I can mess around with this and work on a day's view if I need to, or I can work on like a week view like this. You can see we're currently looking at November, and I've got that NCP Reading charge point installation. It's going to take me 6.5 hours, and it's currently scheduled on the 30th of November. If I click into it, a couple of things you'll note. Booking status at the very top. First thing, obviously it's only scheduled at this point. As soon as I arrive on location, I will set my arrival time. You can see, 8 o'clock. It's going to automatically default my end time based on it being 6.5 hours. But what I'm probably going to want to do is say, actually, I've just arrived. So I'm just in progress here. I can do that and I can click save. Now, if I just refresh this in the background, you can see exactly what Paul was just mentioning around it being in real time. You can see somebody in the office now, look, because this is now in progress, they can see this is now in progress. The color scheme has changed. The status is now in progress here. If we click on the little icon over here, you can set your own booking statuses and you can set your own color scheme against these. So yeah, really useful. When somebody's in the office, they can physically see what the engineers are doing and the status is out and about in the field basically. So we've got those things that we're probably set from the booking itself. We've then got customer details. We've got the address. We've got a nice little map. Really useful. We click on the get directions button there on our phone. That will then just take us to that location basically. But we've also got this functional location. So if I click on the magnifying glass here, I know full well that yesterday I installed a charge point on level 2 of this multi-storey car park in Reading. And on Monday I did level 1, so today I'm installing this on level 3. This has already been set up, but what this is going to now do, obviously this product gets converted as an asset, and the asset now is going to reside on level 3 of this multi-storey car park. So it's really quite useful to physically see where our assets are located, as opposed to it's just on that site location. It's actually in this certain area. So we can do all of this information from here. Again, we can tailor make this, we can tidy all this up. The traveling time will come in. Obviously, if this device was moving and traveling and I've actually gone somewhere, that would have filled in as well. And then we get to the service area. And as you can see here, these are the 5 things that Paul set up for me to do. I'm going to go through and work through these. So pre-inspection photos. First thing I'm going to need to do, I've got to spend 10 minutes. That's priority 1. So I click into that to see all the details of what that is. I might then say, okay, actually, I can drag this across to say it's now 100% complete. I can see all the other details around that. If I need to go on my timeline and add a follow-up phone call or an email, or I couldn't quite do something on this scenario, I might need to set a task for myself to go and do something when I get back in the office. Equally on here, if you can see on the notes, we can capture photos, videos, the microphone based on those preferences we previously set up. I'm just going to click on the camera here now, and this would be me on site taking a photo of some sort of junction box or something like so, and then clicking use photo like that. You can now see that gets added in. You can see here I can then say fuse box, something like that. Click done, add some additional text if I need to in here, blah, blah, blah. Click add note. We've now got that image stored against this work order. You can see that will then go through quickly. Come on. Save that. That will now save. There you go. So I've added a note and an image in there. So someone in the office now, if they went into this, would be able to see those images. So it's just basically us doing a bit of a site recce. And you can see, I'll go back here. I've now completed the inspection photos. The next one on the list was the risk assessment. Now, when I click into the risk assessment here, this is what Paul has set me up to be an inspection. So we've got this concept of doing inspections. It's a set of questions that we need to ask. We're doing this in the scenario that the work order, we've already sold this to the client. We're now doing the installation. So have we identified risk factors? Yes, I have, and add in all your other details. It's a free text field. He's then asked me to grab government OLEV reference number because it might be that this charge point was to do with government grant and I need to put the number in. So at this point, I can capture a number field like so. Did they need to obtain planning permission? Yes or no? When was the last patch test? Okay, it was last year, whenever it is, blah, blah, blah. I can fill in some details on here like so if I need to. Have I isolated the main fuse box? Yes, I have. As a result, yes, perfect. I can complete all of those. The key thing here is we've got this concept of an inspection. So we are doing an inspection like so now as phase 2 of one of our tasks. It's a risk assessment. We're doing a RAMS thing. When we get to site, you can see I've now completed that in there. This could have very well been a pre-inspection before we've sold it. So this could be a site survey that one of your engineers needs to carry out before we can come back and actually produce a quote to the client. So it can be either end of the opportunity, before selling, before quoting, or afterwards. In this scenario, it's after. I'm just going to pause the video and fill out all of these others and just complete these off quickly. So I've just completed all my activities. You can see here, 100%. We've gone through this. We're at the end of our working day, for example. But while I was doing the perform installation here, what I've actually got down here, you can see if I scroll up, I've got those products. So what did we physically sell from an opportunity point of view? At this stage, if I click into it, this product, this 7 kilowatt commercial charge point, is only estimated. So I put it on my van earlier. I've actually now changing the status to say used. So it's telling me the quantity on hand is slightly different, but I can say, okay, I've used one of those and we are going to bill for one of those things. You can see we've got this concept of warehouses down here. This is just going to come from the main warehouse. Maybe this was going to come from my van that I'm on, and my van could be a warehouse as well. You can set that up. But effectively, all I'm saying is I've now used that product. I can then click save. Come back in here. We've got any other those tasks and services and anything else that I needed to add in here as well. So install labour, okay, so I think Paul set this up to say, okay, are you going to be charging any time? What are we charging for here? 7 hours, I think it was, wasn't it? Okay, let's just set that to use. There you go, 7 hours. And I might have actually gone over. I might have actually spent, although we allocated 10 minutes for me to do the photos, I might have had to climb up a ladder and take some complex ones. So actually I went over. This took me 7.5 hours, for example. So duration to bill. Where are we? 7.5. There we go. Set that to 7.5. So you can adjust this as accordingly as well if you need to. It's not just based on those tasks. Or we could have put extra time on those tasks if we needed to. Effectively, all we're saying here is, what have we actually done in terms of logging our time? What products have we actually used? That's it. So once we've then done that, the engineer then might say, okay, that's now completed. And you can see it's adding in our time, duration, everything else. Because obviously now this is completed, you can see in the background there, we've now got the lighter blue colour to say completed. Now this could be any colour you want it to be. I'm just going to now hand you back to Paul, who's going to then quickly show you how we then create an invoice for this. So the engineer, the person that's in the office can then see all the details from the engineer. How we can show you the invoice and how that asset hierarchy has now been set up in the system. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks for that, Martin. So we're now back in Dynamics itself for field service. And what we've got on screen is the new asset and location functionality. So during the install, Martin tagged that asset was installed at level 3. And this new capability allows us to see for this account where, or for this building, or in our case, a car park, where those assets are installed. And that's useful for the back office and especially for the engineers. So when we need to go out and repair this, or do our service next year, whichever engineer is sent to site, they should know basically where that asset is. So I'm going to go back into the work order itself, the work order that Martin has marked as complete. And we're at the point now where the back office will be checking over the work order itself. They're going to be checking things such as the parts or the products used on the work order and amend any quantities if necessary. Also check which services or labour has been used and are we billing accurately. And I guess once they're satisfied with that, we're at the place where we want to create the invoice for that. And what we're going to do is we've gone through the business process flow and we're going to change this system status to closed posted. And once that happens, effectively in the background, what is happening there being generated that is built up from the products and services used on here. So I have another window open here where we can see our invoices, and I'm hoping if I refresh this, yeah, we can see here that for work order 1015 that we have a new invoice, and it pulls through some information there from the work order. We've got the work order name, obviously the customer, the price list, and we can also see right back to that originating opportunity that this deal came from. And then in the middle here, we've got our product grid. So we've got our labour charge, and in this case, the charge for the actual unit itself. So I guess that concludes today's demonstration. Thanks for joining us. And if you would like to get any more information on field service or have any requirements you want to discuss with us, please get in touch with us at Preact and we'll be more than happy to help. Thanks for joining us.